Hi. Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. So as you can get from the title of our intervention, me and Luigi, you met Luigi yesterday as well for a presentation, is a kind of different perspective that we want to bring on the stage today. From one side, we are consultants, of course, and so we leverage and we know the capabilities of AnyLogic as simulation model, and we want to lever on it to get, of course, more business with our clients and to be also a valuable partner for them. On the other side, we want to give you also the perspective of the C-level of the company, which at the very beginning, they do not know anything about simulation model, or they are either not interested in getting in such details. And I will tell you already the end of the story. We are talking about one of the biggest company in the field of industrial goods. I will tell you something more later. And the end of the story is that this client has been adopting now AnyLogic is in a kind of embedded capabilities in their operating model. So it's not a matter of a small project in some field that then could be, let's say, discarded after some failures of some not promising potentials, but we are talking about installing a kind of platform and operating model which is being enhanced day by day, time by time, started with the purpose of investment in technology, and now has been enriched with further capability in the field of supply chain optimization. So you can imagine something which is very similar to what the AnyLogic guys were telling you before, so in the field of enterprise simulation. For sure, you know Porsche as the luxury brand for the cars, and yes, we are 100% Porsche company, but we are the strategic consulting company. We have been founded in the early 90s due to after one of the severe crises that we faced at that time. And so a team of consultants was installed for restructuring the company. And the restructuring was so successful, nowadays Porsche is the most profitable automotive company in the world. And we are part of the largest European industrial group, which is Volkswagen as well. So we have businesses around the world. Of course, one of the main regions where we do business is USA. I come from Italy together with Luigi, and the case that we are bringing on the stage is belonging to, again, to one of the biggest European semiconductor industry. I will tell you something more. So just to give you the perspective of the kind of consultancy that we do, and we found with engineering the perfect combination of matching the capabilities, is leveraging on the sensitivity that we have. Since we have a company behind, and so we have to face the challenge of the transformation, and you know how automotive industry is facing such huge transformation, and so we know the difference between having a good concept, a good idea, but then transforming it into reality, into a concrete result. On the other side, we could leverage on engineering, who has been presented already yesterday, who is partner of AnyLogic. And so they can bring then, let's say, a sort of outlook into the future thanks to the AnyLogic. So as I was saying in the beginning, we are now focusing, we are in the field of industrial area, and one of the most, let's say, valuable topics so far in the consultancy and in the company as well is the conviction, and of course it's fine, that you can lever on technologies to boost your performances. But often, this has been seen also as a big barrier to the implementation due to the higher cost. So this was the beginning, let's say, of our discussion with the client. You should imagine that our touch point in the client conversation is always the C-level. And this gives us the chance, of course, of starting from the purpose of our intervention, of our project. So what is the final value that we want to generate? And based on this assumption, we bring on together with engineering today our experience, which is made of 3 main areas where we work together, and we are able to convince, let's say, the client to be successful thanks also to the implementation of AnyLogic. The first is about strategy, of course. Strategy should come first. One of the main failure, if you tackle the simulation model from the bottom perspective, is that you don't ask why, what is the purpose of such a simulation, of such intervention. So strategy should be, of course, as a first priority. The second one is how to tackle the ROI dilemma, because as I was saying before, yes, it's true. Sometimes the investment in smart factory, or you want to call it, are very capital intensive, and sometimes the business case seems to not be promising. And the third aspect is, if you even convince on, let's say, with your calculation that the business case might be convenient, yes, but who can give you enough reliability that then it will fly? Then from the concept to the real execution, you will not encounter any barrier that you will make the cost higher than the initial forecast, or even not applicable at all. And so to be much more concrete, now I will bring you an example from the semiconductor industry. You might know also from, let's say, the user perspective, that the semiconductor industry has been challenged a lot in the last 4 years. Everyone has some experience with the COVID crisis, where the world was facing a shortage in the semiconductor industry, and the supply chain were disrupted. And this was, let's say, the case where all the world realized the importance of the semiconductor industry, and especially automotive, because now moving to electrical vehicle, we are deeply having semiconductor in our cars. And from the semiconductor industry perspective, is a huge change. There are huge investments that have been made either from US, you might know the so-called CHIPS Act, which has been running here in the US as well as in Europe, because this affects also geopolitical risk. We, from the western part of the world, want to be independent from Asia to build the capabilities for the future, to have enough chips for our products and for our life in a general sense. And so this was a kind of disruption that, of course, brought the semiconductor industry and our client to say, now I have a restricted amount of time, so in a short term, I need to enhance my capabilities to meet the future demand. Because there is still a shortage of 30% in the market between demand and offer. And so, of course, one of the main things that you want to do, or at least you want to think about, is building the so-called smart factory, or factory of tomorrow, or factory of the future, how you want to call it. So, meaning that you could go to such a level where, moving on two axes, one is the, let's say, automation of the physical processes. So having something which automate everything from processing the product to move the material within the factory in the supply chain. But also there is the y-axis, which is about the software capabilities. And you want to embed, you need also a kind of software automation to realize potentially an autonomous factory. So a factory that can run autonomously, but even more important, can take decision autonomously when something happens. And so you can here start imagining how AnyLogic can support on this, because, and that's what I was saying at the beginning, in the end of the story with this client, nowadays they have used AnyLogic with us to demonstrate that those factories are possible and even economically convenient. And once you have that model, which is at the beginning is a simulation model made of to take some decision, then could be converted or let's say further developed to become a digital twin, so a sort of control tower, either for your processes, but it now is going to be also a tool for managing the facility, the energy monitoring, or you can extend also to the supply chain, to the supplier, to the customer. So this is the kind of journey that we are embracing with the customer. But the problem, as you see here, more than half of the smart factory program fails because of the missed return on investment. But the problem about the return on investment, the financial sustainability, is because the concept is not challenged enough. I heard about, in those days, fantastic cases about applying AnyLogic to a specific environment, to a specific field. But of course, I assume that most of the projects start from the current as is, and you want to replicate in a simulation model. But this is exactly what takes you far from bringing an astonishing result or a step change. And of course, it has nothing to do with AnyLogic, because it's not in a responsibility of AnyLogic, but it's something that you should do upfront, challenging the process the way you can change. Because now, I say, again, coming back to the purpose of our intervention here, we want to contribute to the AnyLogic community to boost the application of AnyLogic, and also, why not, the business around, either for AnyLogic and for the ones like us that leverage on it. But assuming that you are typically the entry point from a company like engineering working specifically on a simulation model is, let's say, middle manager, or in a specific environment, which is the IT or the logistic or whatever. And if you run a model, and then the model says that, yes, you can save 5% of your logistic cost, from the perspective of the company and the C-level, the project has failed. And there is no need to invest further in simulation. Why should I? You take the AnyLogic simulation, you did some exercise, you invest maybe 3 months, and then you get only 4%. And this can potentially lead, of course, to a bad reputation, because from the C-level perspective, it doesn't work. But to better understand why, here I bring again an example from the semiconductor industry. So let's take, in average, the semiconductor industry has a 50% of, let's say, saturation of their capital. They are a capital-intensive industry. And the aspirational target is we should go to 80%. Because if I go to 80%, then makes my financial sustainability better. But there are some roadblocks that you can have a look here, which are, again, because not changing the perspective. So, for example, most of the approach to smart factories start from technology. Or typically, you want to apply technology replicating the human behavior. So if you want to make automation, and currently you have a machine that is loaded by human being, you want exactly a robot that do the same movement. But this is, of course, not the right premise, again, to make the improvement that we want. To give you just a feeling about what I mean when you need to challenge the concept, you need to challenge the input before going to simulation, I brought here some of the items which are very important, some of the issues that are very important to the semiconductor industry. You can realize how the change should shift. And this, of course, is not trivial at all. But those are some, not all, but some of the elements that might be needed to enable the change that we want to take. But of course, this is not enough, because as I was saying, yes, we did such, this is our job, to make the factories running, to design a new supply chain, new factories, new capabilities. And in this case, we demonstrate on paper that yes, the concept could fly. But again, we need something more, which is convincing the customer that it will work. And I like the idea of representing AnyLogic in a kind of crystal ball, because this is exactly what we were able to bring to our customer. A sort of opportunity to look into the crystal ball and say, look, this is how your factory will run. These are your indicators. And this is all the things that could happen if you change different scenarios. And so, not only, based on that, thanks to the fact that it's very dynamic and the environment of such industries is extremely complex, you can catch some KPIs that you are not able to get in other matter with a static model. And thanks to that, as you can see here, we were able to convince the customer not only about the goodness, but we show them that it could fly. And as a final result, if compared to the initial payback that they have measured for such investment, we reduce it by half. And as I was saying, this was is a success story, but let's say the key change in the customer was understanding then that they can leverage on the simulation, but in order to do that, they should build the capabilities within their company to continue to utilize the simulation model as a kind of crystal ball for the future. And for that purpose, for guiding you through, let's say, the good recommendation and guidelines how to do such transformation, I will hand over the stage to Luigi.
Thank you, Giovanni. So, there are 5 points that we will talk about. And, but I will start with letting you know about my experience. So I started simulation more than almost 20 years ago. And when I came into simulation, I was working as a planner in a luxury yacht building company. And at that time, I was struggling with a very specific problem. I had a huge, colorful, crazy Excel spreadsheet to understand how to schedule boat in our factory. And it was a crazy job that I was struggling a lot because every time, because of the variability, I was changing the plan every day, manually throwing away what I did and doing back. So I was thinking there was another way around to do stuff. And this is where I came into simulation. So I asked my manager, why do not we try to do ourselves something in simulation? We bought a license. We create the model. I was happy. But at the time, I was a technical guy struggling with a very specific technical problem. When you need to go to a higher level, you need to change your topics. So this is why strategic consultings are helping you in communicating something different. This is why you need to change your tools if you want to elevate simulation and AnyLogic to a C-level agenda. And then you need to be consistent. And we will talk about how to create an approach, a methodology that allow you to be consistent in your company and sustainable for the future. So, as I said, strategic consultants are helping you in setting the stage. So they can create an effective communication. They talk about the right topics. They are really getting the attention of the CEO. So they are preparing the pie. The pie is in the oven. It's really well done. But then you need someone that is technical. So we come back to our stuff. So what we like about agent-based modeling, discrete event simulation, coding, whatever, reinforcement learning, to be able to let the pipe, after you open the oven, to be still consistent and not deflating ourselves. And this is where engineering and project consulting together are really working well. And in this particular use case, this is a huge use case. It was not easy at the beginning because, again, the two kind of words are really different from each other. So you need to find a balance between how to create a team that is really working well together. And then one of the good way that we were working together was about creating a good standard around. So we create a framework together by leveraging our experience and the experience of Porsche Consulting in creating framework that allows us to really standardize this stuff and be able to, I can say, be consistent with the CEO when he was asking something. So if we ask for something that needs to be on his agenda, you cannot say, oh, well, probably next year I can come with the answer, or I don't have enough data to do that. So you need to be consistent, and you need to have a methodology that allows you to squeeze the timing and really get the answer when they need to be done. So 5 of the topics are modeling standards and guidelines. So it means that we were able to put together all our experience in about what kind of tools are you using, not only for the modeling, but also for versioning the software, making track of the task, creating the process modeling or the visual stream mapping up front. So how you are getting and collecting information and data, how you are making your quality, guarantee the quality of the data. These are all the things that we put together, and then we move into a centralized repository that we will talk about. Then, since nobody wants consultant forever in the company, you need to be sustainable with your customers. So you need to establish an internal competence center, and so you need to train the people and to create the organization behind that will allow AnyLogic and all the use cases that you can create with them to be sustainable even in the future, even if the consultant will put aside for a moment. And again, some other idea about how to create and how to adapt the model if they need to be adapted, taking into account that in your factory or in your enterprise, you could have different use cases at different level of abstraction. So you could start from some specific use case at a work center level up to the entire footprint of the supply chain. This is what Giovanni was trying to explain to you before. So how this model can evolve or can be adapted from plant to plant to the other, to different use cases. And one of the big advantages of AnyLogic in that is the model manager. So the model manager or a central repository can be the backbone of maintaining and let that AnyLogic could be something that at any different level, in any different plant, despite how big your footprint is, where people can bring a use case, adapt the use case, and use this use case for the different application. It's something that is reliable, secure, controlled by the IT, because again, when I start doing consulting, I was the one that was creating something on the desktop, and it's really nice to create something that stays on the desktop. But if you want to scale and to move at enterprise level, you cannot do that. You need to be secure and, I can say, stable, even more if you want to create a digital twin, because connections are changing and so on. So model manager, central repository to maintain the knowledge is another big point and another very huge asset that AnyLogic allows us to put in place. And then the organization. So you need also the governance. We are helping the customer in creating such organization that allow them to be sustainable even after us. So it means that we are helping them in creating two different kind of teams. One is a central team, and the other are local teams in the different plants. So as you can see from the picture, the central team is the bigger one. Even because even in a big organization, you could not be able to, I can say, feed a lot of modeler all the day long. And we all know, as an AnyLogic modeler, that you are always need to maintain your expertise if you want to be effective. So you need to have a very specific and skilled central team with different, I can say, with different figures. Can be also, some of them can collapse in one. These are just the title. It doesn't mean that they should be a different person, but someone with the expertise in simulation, someone with the expertise in data analytics, so how to retrieve data, how to export the data, or how to create an analysis on top of that. Some very good modelers, someone that is more technical in maintaining the repository, and so on. And at the plant level, what you really need is someone that is capable of understanding that one particular problem can fit a use case that is already available in the repository, or otherwise could be created because can leverage the plus of the simulation. And again, this is something that works really well. And plus, if you look at on the right, you have also Porsche consulting and engineering. So it means that at any point in time, if they need something new or something that they're not capable about, we can came in place, create the specific use case, embed into the repository, and then they will maintain the stuff in the future. But to create such organization, you need the real training. So we spent a lot of effort in really creating a crash course of simulation modeling. As Andrei was saying before, simulation modeling is between an art and something that you really struggle to pass to other people. So what we did is about wrapping around the AnyLogic technical course all the other elements that are needed to bring them to establish their team. That means that we are also passing all the methodologies that we saw in our framework. So starting from how to approach a model, how to understand the light level of abstraction of a model, how to validate your model. So what are the practice to validate your model? Do you have data up front? Do you have a phase validation? Or how you can verify that your model is working? So can you create a user test or integration test or whatever? So all this type of stuff has been done. And we trained more than 22 AnyLogic modeler in one session of 5 weeks, 8 hours per day. And this is something that now is an asset because we create, Giovanni, it was a physical book, I guess. Yeah, physical book of 600, almost 600 pages. And again, this is really cool because, again, this is really trying to go in the direction of creating something that there is not yet done. And again, so final remarks. So you see that probably technical consulting enough is not the right, it's not enough to bring the real value or the real money into into investing, into asking the CEO to invest in this stuff. So together we can work and we can make AnyLogic evolve. So I think this was the last one. Thank you.
So you mentioned that you use, great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you use a simulation model to help bridge the gap between what is possible and what a smart factory could do for your clients. Do you use this simulation model as a sales tool, or is it something that you get the client to invest in?
No, so this is not just for sale. So again, in this particular case, the customer was looking for understanding how to move from what Giovanni said, so to a standard production to a smart factory stuff. So together, we were, like I say, adding this kind of capability on the table in order to differentiate our consultancy that was not only technical, not only really strategic with a set of slides, but also something that is in the middle, so something that can be strategic, but can rely on quantitative methodologies together in the steering committees in order to understand and to, to prove that our ideas or their ideas were really, really good for the financials.
Over here. My name is Michael Kazwara, and I actually work for a logistics company whose basically, like, my sole job is to evaluate pre-data science projects in terms of kind of like what you were talking about earlier, like aligning the strategic vision along with the capabilities of certain analytical tools. And one of the biggest questions that I had for you guys is, how do you guys evaluate the MVP of certain simulation projects, as usually they evolve over time?
So let's say the journey with the customer was starting with a kind of MVP or kind of proof of concept, of course, and also getting again to the former question. We were not entering by selling AnyLogic, but the need was different. Was I need to invest in technologies to understand whether they can contribute to my strategic targets. And in the regard to applying the simulation to show that this could fly, we have started from MVP. The experience so far, which is also the main message that we want to bring you, is that sometimes our role as a strategic consultancy is also to avoid to be stuck on details. Because when you start, the typical question that we had when they said, okay, let's try to have a replica of your facility, of your department into the simulation model, the tendency is to have everything. And so one of the main success factors of the good collaboration among us and with the client was that we gave the right level of abstraction. And the right level of abstraction can be achieved only if you start with a question that is, what is the purpose of your model? What you want to measure? What you want to achieve? Our typical workshop were, what are the strategic questions that you want to be answered by the model? Then, after you have an alignment with the client about the kind of questions that you want to be answered, then it's our job to get to the right level of abstraction. And I can tell you that most of the details that the customer would like to have in the model, or the technical people would like to have in the model, are absolutely not relevant for the purpose of MVP, or for the purpose of showing some of the KPIs that they are interested in.
Absolutely. Thanks for the answer.
Thank you.